Dear student, welcome to this lecture on merchandising and export management. In this lecture, we will discuss terms of payment in export business. Before going into the details, let us see what are the topic that I am going to cover in this lecture. The first, I am going to discuss what is the importance of terms of payment in export business. Secondly, what are the export regulation in this respect. See, there are a lot of export regulations, but here we will discuss what are the regulation specific to the terms of payment. Next, method of securing payment. That means how an exporter can ensure to get payment. Next, there are different procedures and different terms of payment. So we will discuss this one. Next, I will discuss the very important, that is the very commercial term also, that is the letter of credit. Okay, so I will try to cover all these topics in this lecture. So let us first see what is the importance of terms of payment. Now, in international trade, competition is no more restricted to price, quality, and the delivery schedule, but extend to the terms of payment. And terms of payment often decisive in obtaining the export order. This you can very easily understand, because when you are going to purchase something, you will always try to pay in installment without any interest. At the same time, if you want to sell something, you would like to recover the price at the earliest. Okay, the same thing is always also in the mind of the exporter and importer. Now, next, the most important thing is appropriate measures are required in order to protect the mutual interest of the exporters and the importers. Now, in international business, exporter and importer, they are separated by thousands of kilometers. They don't know each other. They don't know each other's credibility. Also, they cannot meet frequently. Okay, so in this situation, exporter think that in spite of dispatching the product, he may not get the payment. On the other hand, importers think that even he makes the payment to the exporter, he may not get the delivery of the goods. So there is a lockdown between the exporter and the importer. And to prevent this or to break this lockdown, the terms of payment is very decisive, and we have to think of a appropriate measure so that both the exporter and importer, they are satisfied and their mutual interest is maintained. Now let us see one of the very important regulation. Try to understand, this is a very important regulation regarding the terms of payment. Let us see what is that. The FEMA export regulations, every exporter is required to ensure that the amount representing the full value of the export of the goods, software and services exported from India shall be realized and repatriated to India within 9 months from the date of export. Try to understand here that it is mandatory for the exporter to disclose the full value of the goods which are to be exported, and not only that, he has to realize the export value within 9 months from the date of shipment. That means if you are an exporter, your responsibility will not end after dispatching your goods to the importer. Your responsibility is also include to realize the full value of the export, and that's to within 9 months from the date of export. As for example, suppose an exporter, he wants to export say 20 lakh pieces of garment. So in this case, you have to give the declaration what is the export value. Say it is 1 crore rupees. Okay, so we have to disclose the entire value, and not only that, he has to ensure that within 9 months from the date of shipment, he will realize that amount in terms of dollar or euro, whatever it is, from the importers. Now, these 9 months may vary from time to time. As for example, I am giving you the latest revision in this regard. See, in the view of the disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, the time period for the realization and the repatriation of the export proceed for the exports made up to or on July 31 has been extended to 15 months, which was earlier 19 months from the date of export. Try to understand what is said here. Earlier, I have told that the exporter supposed to realize the value of the export within 9 months from the date of shipment. Now, you know that because of the COVID-19 pandemic, all the countries are affected. There is not a single country in the world which is not affected because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Like India is affected. Similarly, USA, France, Italy, Germany, Japan, all of them are affected. So, keeping view in this case, the India government has relaxed that whatever the export that will be made up to 31st July should be realized within 15 months from the date of shipment. That means they have got, say, around 6 months relaxation regarding the recovery of the payment. That means whatever the export that will be done up to 31st July, in that cases, the value of the export should be realized within 15 months instead of 9 months. You understand? So this is only for this, for the goods which will be exported up to 31st July. Now, let us see what are the different types of terms of payment. See, always remember the terms of payment should be such that both exporter and importer will be satisfied. Now, there are different types of terms of payment and we will discuss one by one. And different terms of payment, sometimes exporter risk are more, and in some terms of importers risk is more. So naturally, where the exporter risk is more, importer risk is minimum, and for the particular terms of payments where importer risk is maximum, exporter risk is minimum. As for example, we can take the case of advance payment. Now, as the name implies, under advance payment, the buyer is supposed to make the payment in advance. This method may work when the buyer is completely dominated by the exporter. That means, from the name itself, you can very easily understand that the exporter, before dispatching the goods to the importer, they will take the full value of the payment from the importer. Now, since the payment is made well in advance, absolutely there is no risk for the exporter because exporter has got the payment before dispatching. Now, since there is no risk for the exporter, entire risk is lying with importers. So, whatever I meant to say is that whenever there is the risk is more in the exporter, importer risk is minimum, and vice versa. Where importer risk is more, exporter risk is minimum. Okay. Now, second method, this is the payment against shipment on consignment. The exporter supplies the goods to the overseas consignor agent without actually giving up the title. In India, parallel approval is required to be taken from the Exchange Control Department of RBI for the shipment on the consignment basis. Right? Now, try to understand what I mean to say over here. Here, the exporter appointed one consignee or agent. Okay, he is the overseas agent. Now he will send the goods to this agent. Okay, but without actually giving up the title, but the position will be in the name of the exporters, but the good will be dispatched to the agent. Now here the agent will sell the goods and he will realize the sales proceed and make the payment to the exporter. That means, suppose let us consider that the exporter dispatched a good, say value is around 1 crore rupees to the agent. Okay, Now agent will sell the goods, but there is no necessity that the agent will be able to sell entire amount of goods. Suppose out of 1 crore rupees, agent could sell say around 80 lakh rupees. So agent will make payment of 80 lakh rupees to the exporter, and rest 20 lakh or the rest goods should be returned to the exporter. And thereafter thereafter the agent will take commission on the basis of the sale. Now this is a risky affair. Why? The payment is made only when the goods are sold by the overseas consignee to the other parties. That means if the consignee or if the agent is not able to sell the goods to the exporter will be not get any payment. Or if the agent is delaying in selling the goods, then his payment will be also get delayed. That means payment will be made if the agent can sell the goods, otherwise not. And secondly, the consignee may return the goods back if they remain unsold. That means just now I have told you, if 20 lakh rupees goods is remain unsold, then the goods will be sent back to the exporter. Now remember, if you want to export on the consignment basis, prior approval from the Reserve Bank of India should be taken. And remember one thing in mind, that in international business, export import, any sort of foreign exchange rules and regulations should be regulated by the RBI. Okay, so if the exporter want to get the payment on the consignment basis, prior approval of RBI will be necessary. Next is the documentary bills. Here the documents of title of the goods are also sent along with the bill of exchange. Now these are two types. One is the document against payment, another is document against acceptance. If you can recall, at the time of export documentation, I have told you there is a one very important document, that is known as the bill of lading. Why this document is very important? One important of the bill of lading is that it is known as document of title. What does it mean, a document of title? Document of title, it means that if the importer wants to take the goods in his possession, he has to submit the original bill of lading. Until and unless he submits the original bill of lading, cannot take the goods in his possession. You understand? Now, this document, this bill of lading, will be sent to the exporter to the importer. Okay. Now there are two conditions. One is the document against payment, DRP. That means D stands for document and P stands for payment. And here D stands for the document and A stands for acceptance. What does it mean? There are two situations arise. The first situation, which is more preferable for the exporter, that means exporter sends the document and then importers make the payment. That means exporter will send the documents of title, let's say bill of lading, and importers will make the payment. Okay, this is known as the site bill of exchange. Another one is the document against acceptance. It means that exporter sends the document to the importers and importers will accept, okay, the bill of exchange. Okay, that means bill of exchange means anything we can fetch money is known as the bill. But here importer will not make the payment then and then. He may take 30 days or 60 days or 90 days or maximum 270 days to make the payment. And this particular period is known as a usance period. Usance period means the time gap between the receipt of the document and making the payment. So this just now I have told, try to understand what I have said here. Document against payment. The documents are released and imported against the payment of this method. Against the payment. This method indicates that the payment is made against side draft. This side draft means this is the bill of exchange. When the document is submitted to the importers, that bill will be side bill. What is the side bill of exchange? That means the importer will make the payment immediately. Another is the document against acceptance. Here also the exporter will send the bill of exchange to the importer, but here the difference is the importer will not make the payment immediately, but he may take certain times, like 90 days or 80 days or 120 days, whatever it is. So this is known as the document against acceptance. So naturally you can understand for exporter which one is good. Naturally exporter it is good document against payment, because then and then exporter will get the payment. Okay, but here document against acceptance means exporter releases the handed over to the importers the documents. Importer will take the delivery of the goods, because now the goods is now the document is in the importer. But thing is that importers will not make the payment immediately. We may take certain times, as for example 90 days or 180 days, whatever it is. So here he has accepted the document but not make the payment immediately. But here he will accept the document and make the payment immediately, right? Next one is the letter of credit. You may take some time to understand this. I believe this will be more clear to you when I will explain it, giving a pictorial representation. For the time being, you please note it down that what is the meaning of the word letter of credit. Letter of credit, basically, it is an authorization issued by the opening bank to the negotiating bank that if the exporter presents the relevant set of documents to make the payment. That means here uh, four parties are involved. One is the importer, second is the bank in the importer's country, that is known as the opening bank. Next is the exporter and the bank in the exporter's country, that is known as the negotiating bank. And letter of credit defines that undertaking by the importer's bank. What is the importer's bank? Importer's bank is issuing bank or the bank who opens the letter of credit. Okay, that payment will be made to the exporter if the required document is presented to the bank within the validity of the letter of credit. Just for the time being, you just remember one thing. That is the basic principle involved here. Exporter may not have faith on the importer, or importer may not have any faith in the exporter, but exporters have faith on his own bank. Similarly, importer has their faith on their own bank. Now, these two banks will mutually deal with each other regarding the handing of the document and making the payment. This will be very clear to you when I will stepwise I will discuss after 2 or 3 slides. Next is the open account. This open account is not very popular. It is also known as a trade credit. Under this method, there is an understanding between the sellers and the buyers on the terms of the credit and the rate of interest on the outstanding amount. The facility is extended by the seller to his overseas buyer only when he is confident of the buyer's integrity to honor his commitments. In India, prior approval of required to be taken from the Exchange Control Department of RBI. Again, I am telling this open account is only possible if it is permitted by Reserve Bank of India. Now I can explain what is the meaning of the word open account system. Earlier I have told you that exporter will, after either dispatching the goods to the importer, he will record the export value within 9 months from the date of shipment. But here that limitation is not there. Exporter knows the importer very well. So exporter will send the goods and without any restriction regarding getting the payment, and similarly importers will keep making the payment to the exporters. No hard and fast rule is that an importer will make the payment within 2 days. But for this purpose, prior approval of the RBI is necessary. And this is especially when both the organization, say exporter and the importer, both are sister organizations. Suppose as you can say the exporter is X and the importer is Y. Both belong to the same group of industries, but one is exporter, another is, that means one is operating from India, another one is operating from other countries, say US. Now, This organization will send the material to Y on a regular basis. Similarly, Y will also make the payment to the X on the regular basis, which is basically their mutual understanding. And that means it is only possible if the exporter is confident that the importers integrated on the to honor this commitment. That exporter is confident that importer will make the payment to this. Okay, so there are two factors. One is that exporter should have confidence on the importers that he will make the payment in due course of time, and secondly, the exporter has obtained prior approval from the importer regarding the open account system. Now, procedure for obtaining payment through letter of credit. Now, stepwise, I will tell you in simplified version, rather it is oversimplified, how the letter of credit is opened and how the payment is made through letter of credit. The first step, let us say, the first step, the importer on request of the exporter opens a letter of credit in his bank. See, this LC is a very conventional, and you can use this word. LC means letter of credit. So first step, I believe it is clear that after the contract is fixed between the importer and exporter, the importer request the bank in his country. This bank is known as the issuing bank. Okay, to open a letter of credit to the exporter. Always remember, the importer's bank is issuing bank. Now, issuing bank issues an LCR forward to the negotiating bank. This negotiating bank is the bank in the exporter's country. Okay, and exporters are informed that LC has been opened. That means, what I mean to say, in the first stage, importer has requested the issuing bank to open an LC, and based on his request, importer's bank, that is in the issuing bank, issues an LC and forward this to the negotiating bank. Negotiating bank means bank in the exporter's country, and the exporters are informed that LC has been opened. Next is, the after LC has opened, the exporter takes the position of the LC. Remember, taking the position of LC does not mean that getting the payment. Okay. Now next, the exporter supplies the goods to the importers. So this is the importer. So right now there is a small mistake here. That is the importer. Okay, and presents the full set of document to the negotiating bank. Okay, that means exporter will supply the goods to the importers and present the full set of documents to the negotiating bank. Now, negotiating bank will scrutinize the documents, and if they are in order, they will make the payment to the exporter. And issuing bank will reimburse the amount to the negotiating bank. Okay. Now, that means the first step is importers will open a letter of credit in his own bank, and bank in his country is issuing bank. Okay, this issuing bank will open an LC and forward it to the negotiating bank. Negotiating bank is the bank which is in exporter's country, and the exporter will be informed that yes, your LC is. The exporter will take the position of LC. Now, what the exporters will do? Now, exporters will dispatch the goods to the importers, ship the goods to the importers, but he will not send the goods to document of title to the importers. What he will do? He will send the goods to send the documents to the negotiating bank, and negotiating bank will send the documents to the issuing bank. Now, both the banks will scrutinize the document. If the issuing bank is satisfied, then what he will do? He will make the payment to the negotiating bank, and his payment will be realized. And on the other hand, issuing bank will hand over the document of title to the importers, and importers now can take the delivery of the goods. Okay, that means here the making the payment and delivery of the document of title will be done by means of the. So now it is very clear State-wise it is mentioned. So once you understand this figure, you will have no problem. Okay. See, this is the importer and is the exporter. Now, first step, the contract is made between the importer and exporter. Right? Contract is made between the importers and exporters. Say it is, say you can say it is around uh, 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 say 1 lakh, $1 lakh. Okay. Now what the importer will do? Importer will open an LC in the issuing bank. So this is the issuing bank. In this issuing bank is importer's country. So on the request of the importer, issuing bank will open an LC. Okay, and this LC, now see the third step. So this is the first step, this is the second step, and this is the third step. The third step, what the issuing bank will do? Issuing bank will issue the letter of credit to the advising bank, or you can say it is the negotiating bank also. You can call it as a negotiating bank also. Okay, a negotiating bank and advising bank, basically they are same. Though in some cases they may be different, but you need not to know this. So issuing bank, they will send the letter of credit to the advising bank. Advising bank is basically the negotiating bank and it is the exporters bank. Okay, now in the fourth stage, advising bank will hand over the letter of credit to the exporter. Advising bank will hand over the documents, or advising bank or negotiating bank, they will hand over the documents to the exporter. Now, fifth step, exporter after manufacturing the goods, they have shipped the document to the importer's country. Okay, and send the documents to the advising bank. Now, this advising bank, they will scrutiny the documents presented by the exporter, and they will forward this to the issuing bank. Now, issuing bank again they will scrutiny. They will do the scrutiny of the documents. Okay. After scrutiny of this document, if they are satisfied, then what they will do? Then issuing bank will say the advising bank to make the payment to the exporter, and at the same time, they will hand over the documents of title to the importers. This document of title, since the importers now have the document of title, now he can take the delivery bill. That means what I mean to say here, the most important thing is that the bill of lading, until and unless importer has the bill of lading, cannot take the delivery of the goods. And from where the importers will get the bill of lading? From the issuing bank. From where the issuing bank will get the bill of lading? From the advising bank, and the advising bank will get the bill of lading from the exporter. So ultimately, exporter will send the goods to the importer, but not the bill of lading. Bill of lading will be routed through the advising bank. Now, if there is any problem in the bill of lading, then issuing bank will not release the payment to the negotiating bank. Okay, so bill of lading is a very important document, and not only bill of lading, there are two things important. First of all, bill of lading should be original, and also bill of lading should be clean. Now, what is the meaning of the word clean bill of lading and stale bill of lading? Clean bill of lading, that means there is no damage of the goods is observed at the time of loading, and stale bill of loading means there are certain flaws. Okay, so in the case of stale bill of lading, it is very difficult to get the recovery of the product. Now see the type of letter of credit. One is a site credit. As I already told you, under this LC documents are payable at site upon the presentation of the requirement documentation correctly. A site letter of credit is more immediate than other form of the letter of credit. Now another is the acceptance credit or time credit. Acceptance credit, I have already told you, the documents will be handed over to the importers, but the importers will take certain time to make the payment. Okay. Now see the types of letter of credit. First is the revocable letter of credit and irrevocable letter of credit. See, revocable letter of credit is not popular because this type of Letter of credit terms and conditions may be anytime modified by the importers bank. Importer bank means issuing bank. Okay, without the notice of the exporter. That means exporter will not know, but issuing bank has the authority to change the or modify the terms and conditions. Now, always preferred letter of credit is irrevocable letter of credit. In this type of, once the letter of credit is accepted, this cannot be cancelled or modified without prior permission of the exporter. That means in this case, the issuing bank or the importer's bank may change the terms and conditions of the payment, but in the case of irrevocable letter of credit, the importer's bank cannot change the terms and conditions of the payment without taking the permission of exporters. Okay, so exporters on the safer side should be always insisted on the irrevocable letter of credit, and this irrevocable letter of credit is more popular. Okay, next is the red clause letter of credit. This is a special type of letter of credit, and the one clause is incorporated in the red ink, which authorizes the negotiating bank to grant advance on the receipt of the full set of shipping documents. That means it has, in that case, negotiating bank may grant advance, say not say 20% or 40% of the total value to the exporters. And for this purpose, a special type of letter of credit is issued. Okay, there are certain terms and conditions also that is beyond the scope of the discussion. Only remember that in the case of red clause of letter of credit, the exporters may get certain amount in advance. Okay, but for this purpose, they have to hand over all the documents. That means before getting the payment, negotiating bank, they themselves can make a certain part to the exporters. So this is all about your terms and conditions regarding the export. Okay.